This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host. Thank you for pushing start time today.
I sensed that you were a bit delicate.
I sent George a text at 1:40 a.m. something like that time.
And it said last online 2:47. So
I sent him a text being like, we're going to have to push tomorrow. Usually you come for 10, we're rolling by like 10, 20, 30. I was like, it's not going to happen. I went to the BAFTA. I could have danced all night. I went to the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. I
I had a great time though.
Yes.
I had a really good time. Went to the BAFTAs and then but in a non-Pulp Kitchen capacity.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
George
I wasn't just at home.
Filming branded content for a brand that was there. Great fun. Just by the way, we should totally try and go as Pulp Kitchen.
On the right side of the carpet.
On the right side of the carpet. We would have the best time. Of
course.
But
one thing I've always noticed about the TV BAFTAs, which are in May, is
these are
that
the TV BAFTAs, by the way. Yeah.
crucially in May, glorious sunshine, outdoors, brilliant. Film BAFTAs, February, often cold, dark.
Yeah.
Tell us more, James. Tell us.
Yes, it was great. So I have this really weird position, which is definitely, and I don't know if I should say this, like not allowed, where like the allocations for media on a red carpet, if you've ever seen one or lucky enough to be on one, it's really strict. You stand here, you wait for talent to come here. If you're lucky, you have a PR person who's like dragging talent by the scruff of their necks to come and speak to you. And I'm sort of like filming on behalf of this brand, but they're very much like just wander the red carpet and get shots of people as they go, which is just definitely not allowed. But I kind of just do it anyway. And
it's your domain now.
It was great, and you just get to like I saw Jeff Goldblum, I saw Brian Cox, Not the Scientist, the Succession one. I saw the Richard Gadd and Jennifer Gunning.
Yes.
They were actually, apart from Jeff Goldblum, had the biggest buzz around them. So they weren't nominated for this year, but they presented an award this year.
Good bit of PR there.
I'm very sure they will clean up next year.
I think actually this year's Emmys as well. I think they've made it in time because obviously it's an international.
Yes,
hit. They'll do well at this year's Emmys.
Yeah,
as well.
and I saw Elizabeth Debicki, who is she's my height in heels.
Wow.
And I'm like 6'5", 6'6". She is really tall. She's like an elf. Like stunning, but she's
Lord of the Rings elf.
She's
not the other type of elf.
No, not Santa's. Yeah, like she is ready to play Galadriel in a reboot sequel. We'll get onto Lord of the Rings, by the way. But she's just brilliant. I bumped into the guy who plays Dodi Al-Fayed.
Yes.
And because I was back to, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. By the way, loved what you did with The Crown. Thought it was really good. And he was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. And then I did bump into Richard Gadd. And he sort of like, I literally like elbowing everyone in the way. And he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh no, I just finished your show. And I thought it was brilliant. It was really well done. He goes, oh, thank you so much.
Was he like, oh, here's another one?
Yeah.
Another person obsessed with me.
No, he was like, oh, thank you. What's your name? And I was like, oh, thank you. And then Jennifer Gunning like comes along. And I was like, oh, and you were also brilliant. And it was so cool just to like finish that show.
Yeah.
And then just meet those two people and just very quickly say, thought what you did was brilliant, really important work. And then he was a really nice guy. He asked me my name, shook my hand.
Oh, that's what you got to do. That's what we do.
Yeah.
When we see people.
Jeff
Jeff Goldblum with him to be there at a TV thing.
Yeah, I don't really know what he was doing. So I sort of was filming him. You know, red carpet, it's like a fair game. That's the trade-off. They're there to be filmed.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking for, I'm getting like non-sound slow motion moments of like interactions. And so he meets Rob Beckett and Ramesh Ranganathan on the carpet, and they're just having like a little chit chat. And he's like, oh, hello there, you look fabulous. And he's sort of complimenting Ramesh Ranganathan's like double-breasted suit, and he's talking, and I'm just basically as close to them as you are now, and I'm filming. And Jeff Goldblum just does it. He's talking, he notices me, and he goes, hello there. And then just keeps talking in his conversation. A very sort of Ewan McGregor, hello there. Very good. And then the after party, George, it was great.
Yeah, that's cool. You didn't
Joel Corey did. No, I left early. I wrapped at like 7 last time, and I didn't stick around. But Joel Corey DJ'd, if you know Joel Corey.
Who is that?
It's a funny story. He was on Geordie Shore a while ago as someone's boyfriend, and then he was like an asshole DJ. But then, like in the 2020s, started just dropping like house hits.
Wow,
fantastic DJ. Kept the party going for ages.
Good enough to be at the BAFTA after party.
Yeah, Hannah Waddingham was there. Like I didn't speak to her, but it was like ooch, ooch.
I bet she commands a presence.
Yeah. Oh, she looked great. She's got like the slick back blonde hair. She had the high heels. Like she was barefoot on the dance floor.
Like a Bond villain's like henchman. Yeah. But like in like the 80s version.
Oh yeah, she is very Bond.
She's like Grace Jones in A View to a Kill.
Have we had a female Bond villain? No.
No, we've had a female henchman. we've not had a female
Yes.
Bond villain.
God, I thought they would have done that by now.
You're right. Maybe people don't like to watch a man beat up
Punch
a
it.
woman.
I mean, you could do it. You could do it better than that. Like Fast and Furious did it.
Yes.
With
yes, did they?
Charlize
Charlize Theron in, yes.
Yeah.
What a great time, James.
Oh, it was great.
So I'm happy to push you back because
so
you're buzzing.
late.
You've got stars in your eyes.
I could have danced all night. My throat's a little bit scratchy. It drank way too much.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And those emails that I keep hearing on your laptop, is that just Jessica Gunning
Oh,
now?
sorry.
No. Jessica Gunning emailing you all the time.
Yeah.
Being like, great to meet you last night. I really wanted to see you.
Yeah. She's really sweet, by the way, the actress.
I bet she absolutely tells. That's fantastic. When you said about shaking people's hand when you see them, I actually had that experience. So this weekend, I went to the Bermondsey Beer Mile, which is not a huge beer drinker myself, but I had a friend's 30th, and it's this stretch of London between Bermondsey and London Bridge where in the arches of the railway they've put loads of microbreweries, and you kind of do little hop along.
It's great. I've done a shoot at one of them before. It's a really cool spot.
Lovely. And
it's also, in terms of city planning, it's a really great use of otherwise useless space. It would be like sort of derelict storage. You create market and outdoor vibes.
You also have a completely uninterrupted view of the Shard.
Yeah, really
it's like
cool.
right down the channel. And it was beautiful weather, so everyone was out there. So you have a massive concentration of people aged 25 to 35.
There we go.
So
Our
our demographic. So naturally, I mean, it was very sweet, but I did get recognised quite a few times, and
Nice.
a few people did speak to me. I didn't catch everyone's name, but Jacob, if you're listening,
Hey.
it was nice to meet you there, sir. But that was quite fun, and I did message James. But that's not the end of the story. So we have this nice experience, have a great birthday with my friends, and my friend's birthday, and I see all these people. Hey, great to meet you. Then I'm walking back, and we decide to walk to like Tower Hill. So we're walking through kind of people know the Butler's Wharf, Shroud Thames part of London, near Tower Bridge rather. Sorry, on the kind of it's where the old docks used to be.
Yeah.
Cobbled streets, lots of nice little cafes and stuff through there. And it's late at night. It's probably like 6. No, what am I talking about? It's about like 9 o'clock, but it's dusk. It's because it's beautiful summer weather. Anyway, we become aware that there is a film being shot there. There's big lights, there's people in high-vis jackets running along, but because it's such a constrained site, you can only really walk down the cobbled street to get out of this channel. We're aware that walking down the cobbled street ahead of us is the camera and the crew ready, anticipating to start a shot. Not waiting for us to get out of the way. They're still setting things up, but like we and just maybe one or two other pedestrians we're the only people left in the shot. So we're walking down this channel, and I've got people in high vises running past me going, yeah, can we move that? Yep.
Yeah,
People moving equipment, people tucked around corners, with earpieces. And I'm walking up, and the camera's right there, and I'm basically in this film. Whatever film is happening, I'm in this film. And when I'm walking up to the camera, I realize that the director is Steven Soderbergh. Just right there. Nice. Unmistakably. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So for James, for like 5 seconds, I almost was in a Steven Soderbergh film.
Which an unknown Steven Soderbergh film.
And also, I looked up on IMDb. He's not currently slated to be directing anything, but it was definitely him. You know me. I know Steven Soderbergh.
I totally
saw
believe
him.
you, yeah.
And I was like, that's quite cool.
Funny thing the other day, me and George had a little meeting in central London, and we were sitting in like it's what was the name of the coffee shop? It was Hideaway Coffee.
So it's like
in like a sort of repurposed alleyway, like a collection of different.
I think
like
that's a deliberate. That was probably, I don't know what was one. It's like an old, it's a traditional courtyard, but I guess it could have been like quite cheap housing originally. That might have been the back area.
Now it's like boutique fashion, coffee,
Yeah.
perfume shops, and we're just having look, the sun is shining. We have a nice
Glorious
outdoor
day.
coffee, and over behind my shoulder is Stephen Graham having a chat with someone who we don't know. You pointed him out because he's behind me, then checked out totally Stephen Graham, who we've sort of bumped into.
Lovely guy.
At like industry events. Seems like a lovely guy. And you went to the toilet, and I sort of like turned my ears up, and I'm really sure he was being pitched the story of a film. And the director was sort of European, maybe French in accent, and there was all of these conversations of like, well, what we'll do is we'll really flesh out that part of your character, and on that journey we'll progress it this way, and you'll see the way it goes. And they had a long meeting. It was like over an hour.
So in 2 years' time, on Graham Norton, he's going to be like, I was sat in a courtyard being pitched this idea.
You're in a movie.
So when did you first hear about this idea? I was sat in a courtyard, the sun was shining, I just loved it.
He's French. Yeah.
This
This is all the info we have.
Yeah.
And you learned about it in a courtyard.
Because we heard about this from the podcasters.
Yeah.
George and James, come out here.
So like in 2 years, stay tuned. Stephen Graham will hopefully, if he takes it.
maybe he won't take the role.
Maybe he won't take it. He'll be in some sort of European-led film.
Also, I was with someone at this birthday drinks, and they thought they saw someone famous. They were like, I think that person in the queue is famous. And I was the designated person to go in like a reconnaissance drone and scan the face of this person to determine whether or not they were famous.
Yes.
So I kind of go in and try and like wander around the room to get a 360 profile of this man.
Yeah.
And I come out and I'm like, no, he's not famous. Don't recognize him. I think he's just handsome and young.
Yeah.
Anyway, this friend persevered and he came back out like half an hour later. He was like, yeah, I've just remembered who he is. He was the 4th lead in Jersey Boys 5 years ago. Well, that's even beating me for remembering a face.
Yeah, and the Jersey Boys all look the same. Yeah. You squint, yeah. That's why they had me doing that thing on the red carpet, is because I'm quite good at faces and famous people.
Ah, yes.
So I know
you know who's a famous
without
person.
being told. I go, yes, I should film that person. Like outside of Jeff Goldblum, who everyone knows. He looks fantastic, by the way.
Welcome to episode 128
128.
of Pulp Kitchen. Last week we did an episode about the best directorial debuts. Go check that out if you haven't listened to that already. Now we're back this week talking about films and TV as well. We're going to be doing a spoiler bonus episode this week about Baby Reindeer, which I reviewed 2 weeks ago and James has now finally seen. So we'll be talking about that in depth because that show continues to roll and be a big conversation point, a big hit. But this week we're going to be talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Next word in the Planet of the Apes.
I call it Thesaurus of the Planet of the Apes because my brain is like lost track of what word they're
doing this time. Sure, Kingdom, sure, Republic,
synonym,
whatever.
Like,
synonym of the Planet of the Apes. So we're doing Synonym of the Planet of the Apes, and we'll also be doing Fallout, the TV series that I finally finished. So I'll be reviewing that as well. But James, you've also seen
Black Chimera. Josh O'Connor, so hot right now. I'm calling it.
Yeah.
He's so hot right now.
For me, I feel like he's been hot though for ages, but maybe
He has.
Challenges is another level.
It's this sense of, 10 years ago when we saw the likes of Adam Driver and Oscar Isaac do lots of interesting work and were very good in all of those different things. Like they varied work all at once in releasing short succession, being good. I'm not saying he's going to necessarily reach those highs, but it feels like that burgeoning point. Great shout in The Crown. Really interesting, sexy work in The Challenges. He's very good in this film.
There's a great Josh O'Connor film, by the way, called Only You, which came out in 2019.
Love it.
Great movie with Lia Costa from Victoria. Brilliant, heartbreaking, fantastic. I think he's like, we're awaiting the Josh O'Connor news, which is, if not a franchise, big blockbuster.
Yeah.
In the same way Paul Mescal got Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
And Timothy Chalamet got Dune. Like you need that next level. That's what it is. So what's the big conversation that he's going to be plopped into?
He also does this entire film in Italian, by the way. Like, I don't know if he already spoke Italian. I've not actually checked that out. But it's just like, of course you're going to do this film. He's an Englishman speaking Italian, but still, I'm like, that's a 2-hour, 15-minute film you've done in Italian. I'll get onto it later in my review.
So we've got that, and then we'll do some emails. Got loads of emails from you guys to read through. And this week, another game, of course. No, it's the same game. Well, it's the sound game, but it's my
rounds?
turn to give James the sounds this week. So we've got one round of that at the end.
Hey guys, this is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
James, the warmer months,
it's
they're
brighter.
coming. It's spring.
Lighter.
It's summer.
It's great.
Feel it.
Our show literally looks better because the light and the sun is out.
You can see it in our skin.
Yeah, we're happier.
We are happier.
We probably review things more favourably.
On a graph, we review it more favourably in the
Release
summer
your
months.
stuff when the clocks go back, because we'll be better.
Clocks go forward.
Thank you.
But we, as much as we do enjoy this show, James and I do need a break from each other. We are planning holidays away, geographically away from each
Far
other.
too much of you.
Necessary. I want to be in a different time zone to James.
Yeah.
But I love booking holidays. You know,
it's
it's
great.
nice, exciting.
Got a nice little trip with the family to Corfu.
Oh.
This summer, very nice. We've actually booked an Airbnb to stay out in Corfu, and my sister is already very organised as she is. She is hosting her London flat while we're away. She's very good. She's very good.
Okay.
Puts that up very easy. Makes a little bit of extra cash while she's away, and it's just really convenient.
That must be a pretty nice feeling to be on the beach with a pina colada, knowing that you're getting a little bit of extra cash from hosting your home back home.
Drinks on her.
Lovely.
Yeah. And then I actually looked at what other flats in my area were going for, and I thought, I should definitely look into this. I just think it really makes sense, especially if you're traveling a lot for work, you go on the occasional holiday. It's a really easy step to make a little bit of extra cash that really just makes sense if you haven't done it already.
Yeah, I have heard about hosting before on Airbnb. I've never done it, but all the people that have told me about it are people like me. So I often think, why don't I do it? Well, if you guys are interested in hosting, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host.
Before we go into the films, George,
yes,
news this week is that the Lord of the Rings, it was announced that Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens I think the trio of the trilogies.
Okay.
Announced that they're going to do 3 more films in the Lord of the Rings.
3 more? I thought it was just 1 more.
No, they're going to do 3 films in the Lord of the Rings universe. The first of which has been confirmed to be directed by Andy Serkis, starring Andy Serkis as Gollum in a film called. Is it fine? It's something about the hunt for Gollum is the confirmed title.
The Hunt for Red Gollum.
Yeah. So that's all been announced. People are reacting to it. They are producing it. Andy Serkis is directing it. So it's important to note that Andy Serkis was a second unit director on The Hobbit. He also is like a director in his own right. Which is interesting.
Sorry, not a new trilogy, but just 3 individual films.
There are so many stipulations on who owns the rights to what part of Tolkien's universe. So, for example, the Rings of Power show does not have basically rights to anything. They barely have rights to appendices. They don't have the Silmarillion. They can't do second and first age. Peter Jackson and that lot have the trilogies which have already been done, and they don't still have the rights to the Silmarillion. So we do not get first and second age Morgoth. We do not get anything to do with like that whole starting period. So this feels like it's the appendices that happens after Lord of the Rings wraps. There are like extended stories to be told. From what I've heard of them, they don't feel like stories that are going to get like a full film treatment. They feel like really great mini-series that we could do. But regardless, we're gonna get these. My first instinct is just I'm really relieved that this announcement wasn't a remake. Like that really could have happened.
The Harry Potter ones.
The Harry Potter, I just wouldn't have been surprised. You know, 25 years on from Fellowship of the Ring, I just wouldn't have been surprised if that was the announcement. And I'm just a little bit like leaving those classics there. In terms of like Gollum's story goes, I'm like,
it's quite done, isn't it?
I think it's quite done, and I feel like the fun with Gollum is, you know, leaving the rest of his story to be left to the imagination. I will say that when they brought Gollum back for The Hobbit, for the riddles in the dark scene, it is one of the best Gollum scenes. Like, it is brilliant. It's the first scene they shot for that entire thing. And, you know, Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis were like, this is like a blessing to do this massive studio shoot. And you get this scene, which is like a 25-minute character play between these two characters. I mean, that scene is one of the most famous scenes in literature, depending on how you count. But also, that was so well done when they brought Gollum back and he had the shiny new graphics. But I know he's the star of The Lord of the Rings. I don't want a Gollum film. That doesn't interest me.
I'm just loving that this is your wheelhouse. I love it. I can sense the excitement. I know
I'm excited.
I know you're concerned, but like I'm like you're really
Part
invested.
relieved.
I'm a spectator to this entire thing.
Totally.
Really.
Part relieved. It's not a remake reboot.
Yeah.
Part sure.
I think also my only reaction was, well, I think Amazon will be a little bit pissed. I know that Amazon don't own. They've got different rights to different things. But my point is, Amazon trying to carve out. When they making the Rings of Power, they were like, okay, the franchise is currently dormant, the New Line franchise, right? We can make the Rings of Power now and carve our own stamp on this territory. Yeah. And now the established consensus canon, films are going to continue to be made, which I think is at odds. It's like if they did the reboot Harry Potter series on Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
And then also did the Cursed Child with Daniel Radcliffe. It's
yes,
like which version of Lord of the Rings you want audiences to buy into?
Like the 2 Jungle Book films that came out a year from each other.
and one directed by Andy Serkis as well.
Yes, yeah.
That is interesting.
I love Andy. We love Andy Serkis.
Great guy.
Can do no wrong. So I'm a little bit like, sure. Can we not just leave
Andy
this into
Serkis, who was also not involved in, but a consultant on The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which we'll be talking about in a bit.
It sort of comes from Andy Serkis, really.
Yeah.
He is the ape.
He is the guy.
He is Apes in cinema.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Him, Terry Notary.
Yeah.
And wasn't there another guy? I don't know. They would just hang out sometimes and go.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get talking about some films and TV, shall we?
As always, if you have thoughts.
How are the waveforms doing?
We got waveforms. We've got waveforms.
I don't think do we do thoughts at this point? We haven't said any thoughts. Oh, you wanted about the Lord of the Rings?
I was saying, if you guys had thoughts on Lord of the Rings, more detailed thoughts, more informed thoughts on all of this and what you're thinking about it, if you're a big Rings fan, please, as always, send them into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We'd love to keep the conversation going as things develop. But it's interesting that the Peter Jackson and co, he wasn't originally meant to direct The Hobbit. It was going to be Guillermo del Toro.
Yes, I remember you saying recently.
And he was attached to that for a year, but they had rights issues, and Guillermo del Toro was in stasis for such a long time that he decided, I really want to do this, but I want to make films. I don't want to waste 2 years of my life waiting for permission to make it. Peter Jackson then stepped in. I hope we don't have a similar situation. I want it to be quite decisive and like, we're going to do this. Please do it.
Yes.
But sorry, do you know what I'm just the most happy about? Is that they'll make this film and I'll get another like 13-hour documentary on how they made the film, which I enjoy so much more than like the new Hobbit films. I'm genuinely so happy for that. As always,
I'm happy for you.
Every single week, if you haven't, go and check out the extensive documentaries for how they made those films. They are amazing.
So let's do Fallout.
Yes.
TV series, big TV series this year that came out on Amazon. Amazon's previously big TV series was, of course, The Rings of Power, which we just mentioned.
And Clarkson's Farm.
Yes, actually, that's probably the thing that, they've Amazon. It's funny when we've talked about streaming platforms. It's like Amazon is kind of the one that's blurry in our head because they have a streaming platform, but it's also like, do you want to buy some headphones? Okay. And obviously they've had massive hits with The Boys. Has been a huge hit for them, and Clarkson's Farm. Absolutely. My
friend Ryan is always like, you'd love The Boys. You should watch The Boys.
I know. As people tell me,
Time.
Guys, time. Yeah. But they have brought out Fallout, which, if anyone knows, is based on an extremely successful and revered game series from Bethesda. Is that right?
Bethesda, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. So, but don't worry, if you've never played the games, you have no idea what Fallout is. The whole point is obviously that it's bringing it to a new audience, so you can still stand by and listen. James, quickly, Fallout, how much have you played?
So here's the thing, like, I'm of the two of us, I'm the gamer. I've never really connected with Bethesda games. I've dipped my toes in them, but I never had that whole thing click, whether it was Skyrim or Fallout. It just didn't quite work for me. There's something about the, and I know I'm wrong here, like they're objectively very, like some like groundbreaking. The floatiness of it and the sort of rummaging through cases and treasures and things to just get loot, some reason just never quite clicked with me, but I have a total huge respect for what it's done and I know all about them and we'll get all of the reference points just having been paying attention to gaming from this show and when people talk about it.
And it's worth saying for people who don't know the IP, it's when you say floatiness, it's like, yes, there's a slight shonky kind of, the game mechanics of it are kind of almost retro in some respects.
So with that, it's a sort of traditional RPG, which is a role-playing game where like you take on the persona, which is very neutral, and you will play and choose dialogue options based on how you want to play it. But from that massive breadth, you're not getting the same kind of storytelling and cinematics as you would in Uncharted, right? For example, which is not trying to do the same thing in terms of choice and variability. It's more like a very well-designed roller coaster ride that you're on rails for. Not to take one away from the other, but that Bethesda is like, well, if we need people to go in 1,000 different directions, all of those directions are going to sort of feel and interact very differently. But nonetheless, there is amazing storytelling within all of those games and all of those paths to go down.
And just lastly, on like the précis of it. So I have only played Fallout New Vegas, which on reading around it, apparently is the highest revered Fallout game.
Probably,
my understanding of it. And when my mum gave me Fallout, and I'd never heard of it, and it's a really strange thing because I was trapped into that very consumerist cycle. When, excuse me, there are some
it's
rubbish
the
bins outside.
It's the squeakiest bin thing.
You
that
should
needs
just
to go.
spray it in WD-40. I was trapped in this consumerist like cycle as a teenager of being like, well, every Christmas I will either have to have an Assassin's Creed or a Call of Duty game. Anyway, and then my mum just gives me Fallout, and I was like, what is this? And I play it, and because the mechanics are so different from anything I've ever played, I really hated it for the first 3 weeks. And then something clicked and I realized what it is. And it ended up becoming one of my favorite games I think I've ever played. I really, really enjoyed it and invested in it. So I have a lot of attachment. When I heard the series was coming out, I felt quite warm about it. And I want to say from the start of it, it's interesting you saying about how it's different to something like Uncharted, which is a Naughty Dog.
Completely different.
But I actually think that Fallout, the series, can actually hold a candle next to the Last of Us series as being a really great example of a great game to screen adaptation.
I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like a switch was flipped in the last sort of 2 years, and the video game curse is kind of fading away. And I'm starting to feel like older media is starting to understand how we can successfily adapt video game franchises.
Well, start by making them TV series for a start, and not making them films.
I mean, like the Uncharted film was like, fine.
And I know people say the Halo series, which is a bit so-so. But this, I think, is really strong. So what is Fallout? Of course, Fallout is set in a time in the future when a nuclear apocalypse has laid waste to the world, and it's set sort of in the west of America, in California and New Mexico and Arizona and Nevada, and this barren desert wasteland. And the whole one thing that keeps Fallout sort of distinctive is the way it's styled. It's got this complete retro-futurism style. So even though the nuclear apocalypse happens in 2077, everything looks like it's made in the 1960s. You know, it's kind of got the idea of an old world perception of what the future would look like. So you still have TV. It looks like, Mad Men meets Star Wars, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And you've got people in crisp suits and slick back hair and amazing stylings. And with that retro futuristic style is a kind of parody, satire of consumerism via 60s consumerism, capitalist America, greed, and kind of an American obsession with violence and war as well. So the nuclear apocalypse happens. The opening scene of this show is Walton Goggins' character as a cowboy. He's an actor playing an actor called Cooper Howard, who's a big successful Hollywood actor who's ended up doing birthday parties for famous people. And at this birthday party, a nuclear warhead is dropped on Los Angeles, and he has to gallop away from this birthday party with his daughter in his arms. And then it goes boom. 200 and something years later, and we arrive at a vault. And this is key to the story in that a lot of people survived the nuclear apocalypse because they went underground into giant mechanized, purpose-built vaults. And in these vaults, again, very retro-styled. It's basically like being in a massive space station. Everyone wears these kind of jumpsuits. In this vault, in this series where we begin really, in Vault 32, Vault 33, we meet Lucy, played by Ella Purnell, who I have to say is incredibly well cast, and I'll get onto that with the whole casting of the three of them. It's and the whole tone of Fallout. Sorry, I should just say before I go on to talk about the Vault, is it's got this balance between kind of smiley-faced comedy and satire, and then extreme moments of gore and violence, and those things kind of mesh very well together in this. And this is carried over well. So. Vault 33, we meet Lucy, who's a young woman who is a teacher, and she's lived in the vault all her life, obviously, because the surface is irradiated and dangerous, and she is overseen by her dad, played by Carl McLachlan, who's a very warm presence, and she's looking to get married. She's basically speaking to the people in the vault, saying, look, I'd like to marry, I'm ripe for marriage, but I can't marry anyone here because they're all related to me because we've lived in a vault for 200 years. So I'd like to marry someone in the adjacent vault, and we can do that. And this whole idea, we'll have a massive marriage ceremony. Things don't go to plan. Something very, very bad happens. And Carl McLachlan, her father, who's the leader of the vault, is kidnapped, taken up to the surface into the wasteland. And Lucy takes it upon herself to venture out into the wasteland to find her father. And when I say she's well cast, is that Ella Purnell, who plays her, is a British actress. She's got these fantastically huge eyes. And it's perfect for a character who is experiencing the world for the first time, who opens the vault door and walks out into the wasteland.
I should just say, like, one of the key phenomenons of Fallout is that you usually play this intro where you're inside the vault. You emerge from the vault, and the game never tells you what direction to go in. It just presents you with a wasteland with no markers, and you can walk in a number of different directions, which all lead to a number of different eventualities. That's like part of the amazing design of Fallout.
Yeah. And so she finds herself in a world that is full of danger, violence, and terror. But it's a three-handed sort of narrative approach. We then cut to Maximus, who is a member of the Brotherhood of Steel. He's played by an actor I've not seen before called Aaron Clifton Moten. And again, with the tone, he has a fantastic, for a very serious character, he has a fantastic comic timing that just suits it so well. Nice. And his delivery is brilliant. The Brotherhood of Steel, again, dumping massive amounts of Fallout lore on you here, but they walk around in these huge metal mechanized suits, and they're all about preserving old world technology. They're obsessed with old world technology, but in a religious zealot kind of way. And they even joke about it at one point. One of them, who's quite disillusioned, says why are we, dying to find a toaster? It doesn't matter what a toaster can do for us. You've got him as a character there. You also have Walton Goggins in now 200 years later as the Ghoul. If anyone knows Fallout, these are kind of sort of semi-immortal, highly healing borderline zombie characters who have been mutated, basically irradiated mutants. And he's got this, he looks like a leathery prune who is completely bald. He looks like Deadpool without a nose, basically.
Yeah, I've seen the picture.
And he's very much styled like a sort of cowboy, and he's sort of awoken from a slumber.
Looks a bit like Red Skull from Captain America.
Very well put. He does look like Red Skull from Captain America. Anyway, the three of them are, unbeknownst to each other, are all in pursuit of the same thing, which is this scientist who has an artifact with him. MacGuffin. Hello, there's a MacGuffin here. Yeah. Lucy thinks she's going to find the father, but really it's all about this MacGuffin. So here's the thing to say. So first of all, like I said, I think it really, it's good fun. It's good fun, this show. I really enjoyed it. That's it, just straight away, good fun. It really captures the tone of the games, which is, like I said, funny, but violent, but shocking, but engaging. And I think it's really clever. And I think it's incredibly well realized and incredibly well designed. As I mentioned, that retro-futuristic style of Fallout, when rendered on a massive budget, on a huge screen for TV, looks great. And I'm so glad to see that. And the floaty mechanics that make Fallout quite a distinctive game, it's quite nice to actually see those realized in high definition and work properly. So the giant mechanized Brother of Steel suits in the game are a little bit chunky and awful. And you think, how are they going to make that work in this series? But watching them move in this and operate in a real environment is quite fun to watch. Yeah. I think like I said, the casting is great. Those trio really work well. I never felt excluded as a viewer. I'm not, I've played Fallout, but I've not played all of the games. I'm not deeply read up, and I never felt like left out because I didn't get something or didn't get a reference. Yeah. And I always enjoyed where they were heading to next, the different locations, the different types of threats. It does get a bit side questy, and there's even a joke about it. Walton Goggins sort of says, you do realise that the rule of the wasteland is that you'll always get sidetracked by some BS or another.
That's a nice little wink about it.
It's a nice little wink about it. But I would also say that as a viewer, it's no more side questy than The Mandalorian, for example.
Yeah.
All the stuff on the surface is great, but also what works is that back in the vault that Lucy has left, her brother is uncovering this kind of mystery that's happening about the other vaults that are connected to their vaults and why certain things aren't working. And you've got a nice balance of conflict where that's a mystery. On the surface, you've got a MacGuffin, and then every so often you've got a nice bit of action. I found myself after 2 episodes thinking, I would like to watch the next one. I'd like to see where this is going.
Nice.
And I think it's a really good rendering of that IP. And it got to the end of the series, and I thought, I can't wait for series 2, particularly because also when you get to the end of the series, you know where it's going. And I go, that's going to be good. I look forward to seeing that. So really well cast, really well realized, fun, but also kind of with a sinister edge. And I should say that also Walton Goggins, he's brilliantly cast because he simultaneously plays to his strengths as a skeletal, slippery, villainous cowboy. See Hateful Eight, see Justified. He's done lots of roles like that. We look at Walton Goggins, he's kind of got that threatening air. But then also he has a side narrative, which is all his life prior to the war, back 200 years before the bombs dropped. I tell you what sums up the tone of this show is that at one point there's a robot voiced by Matt Berry. And it's like, that's what it is. Okay. And it's like, hello, I'd like to harvest your organs now. Welcome to the Mojave Wasteland. And I'm like, yeah, brilliant. So good fun. And I think
very good, Matt Berry.
Thank you very much. I think it does, even though a show like The Last of Us is completely different, it's completely formally all about a very specific narrative and based on a completely different type of game, I do think Fallout is just as good a depiction, an adaptation of a game.
Sits up there with it.
Yeah, although there's no, unlike The Last of Us, there's no individual episode that I can pull out and go, wow, that was a great piece of television. Yeah. But I'm invested, and forget the Rings of Power. It's funny, if you look at the Amazonian, massive IP things they're pushing, Fallout is much more interesting, much more fun. Do you know what is also quite ironic though as well is that in Fallout there's a massive satire, criticism of consumerist capitalist America and corporate greed. And they really hammer the message home at some point. And I'm thinking, but this show is brought to me by Amazon.
One of the 3 companies that own the world.
So I'm like, is this popcorn in kettle black? But look, it's good fun. If you haven't played the games, don't worry. I think if you want a kind of neo-futurist Western tongue-in-cheek, playful, uber blood-spattered thing, I'd recommend it.
It's nice that when there's something like that, it's really easy to recommend and is really fun and there's very little homework needing to be done to have a good time.
Yeah, I think give it a watch. It's nice. It made me realise that Amazon makes shows. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Amazon, and in a way, it's the kind of show that you'd expect Amazon to make.
Yeah.
Amazon being the massive conglomerate that they are, they should be making the big epic sweeps, isn't it? Like, that makes sense to adapt a massive franchise and make it real.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone like I don't know if Netflix or
it does feel like a product of Amazon. Weirdly, Amazon Prime Video.
Anyway, there you go. Fallout, I really enjoyed it.
Guys, if you had thoughts on Fallout and you agree or disagree with George, please, as always, send your thoughts into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. We'd love to read your thoughts out on the show.
George, when you stand on chimeras...
Did you play Chimera?
Yeah, I've been a chimera once before in my life, but
You're making fun of me trying to be dynamic in my entries.
Not at all.
Intros. Josh O'Connor, George, so hot right now.
Yeah.
I said at the beginning, I know he's just had like two things come out in quick succession. Two great things come out in quick succession. But I said this in the intro. It feels like when somebody does great work, varied work from lots of interesting directors that comes out in quick succession, I feel like, oh, you are on the verge of becoming a real top star.
He has either just had, or I anticipate that he will have in the next 6 months, a front cover...
Studio casting.
That, as I said,
Yes.
but also like the front cover of a GQ, maybe Vogue shoot, on a chair,
would get his abs
6
out.
abs out, Hunk, and it'll be like the man of the moment.
Yeah.
Josh O'Connor steps
Spills
forward.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vulnerable telling
Who really won?
how he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but very different role in this. So, La Chimera, Italian language film. La Chimera, I tried to find out. This film's really hard to define, and a chimera is quite hard to define. Something that is hoped for but impossible to achieve.
I thought Chimera was like a...
There's also a fantastical creature, which is a chimera, yeah.
like a mixture, like something that's two things.
Splicing of things, yeah. You could read into that.
But primarily it's, what did you say?
Something that is hoped for but impossible to achieve.
Oh, wow.
That's what the Googles told me. So this film did very well at Cannes. It got a long standing ovation of claps, which is always like, I'm always like, cool, I've seen many films with 20-minute plus standing ovations, and I've thought some of them are good, some of them aren't.
Yeah, but is there any other kind of ovation that they do at Cannes?
No.
Like, I'm sure there's probably like a sign that says, please keep standing.
Please keep standing. It's like Stalin's,
Stalin's
he told me the last one to
yeah.
clap gets executed, so you just have to go. It's definitely a film for the palate of a festival audience, if I was to sort of frame it for you already. So it is a very cryptic, magical, set in the 1980s Italy. O'Connor plays Arthur, or Artur, as he said in this film. He speaks Italian for 97% of this film. I was very impressed. I don't know if he has been speaking Italian his whole life, but I was very impressed with this Italian, who we meet on a train, newly released from prison. He has been done for being a thief. He is a British archaeologist who has the ability to find buried artifacts. He is like a sort of Tomb Raider, but a dirtied, corrupted version of that. He wears... Yes.
So when you say he has the ability to find artifacts, do you mean like not like an innate ability, like a superpower?
It is like a magical superpower where he
does.
literally
Okay,
goes into like a trance-like state, he uses like a branch and walks on the earth, the camera inverts, and he can tell where buried treasures are. Literally, yeah, I said magical, but it is grounded in realism.
Magical realism.
Yes, that's the genre. So he is like, so he wears this... He looks like a British archaeologist. He wears this linen white suit that evokes the attire of a traveling English gentleman doing business abroad. But it is like muddied and stained and dirty, and his appearance is unclean and unshaven and patchy, and he cuts his own hair. He's disheveled. He has this ragtag group of... iPad's just gone. He has this ragtag group of cronies, and they are tomberoli. And this is like, they are grave diggers, right? It's this really unglamorous version of archaeology. So they go out late at night and they practice this very seedy version of archaeology where they will literally dig up graves, stealing the treasures and relics that were buried with people for a very specific reason, things that weren't meant to be dug up and found. So this could be like offerings of wealth, like vases, mugs, trinkets, but also
vases,
like
American
vases, or even like a baby toy that was left for a child that died too young. They're sort of digging it up and sold. So this sense that, you know, disturbing something that shouldn't be. So they're grave diggers, and they actually can make a large amount of money selling these artifacts on. And on Googling this, I realized this is based on a real life history of people who used to dig up relics of Etruscan culture. And these are very sacred artifacts that weren't considered, they weren't meant to be found, and they're sort of not meant to be sold on. These aren't made for profit. And there's this whole idea in this film of people are raiding these tombs anyway, and it's meant to be this symbolic turning point of capitalism into culture. And this idea that, you know, it overrides any sense of a protected culture, and tradition and pursuit of financial gain overrides a sense of what should be left to remain. And it's this like turning point. That's sort of an idea that's explored here. And so Arthur is a very grumpy, short-fused character. He's quite unlikable, and he sort of, lives in this slum. It's like a cobbled-together house with metal sheets and wooden panels, and he has no sense of self-care, and he sleeps on the floor with his jacket. And so he leads this group of people knowing where to dig. They're like sort of other tombarolis in the region. He uses this branch and he walks slowly on the ground, and he knows where the bodies are, and the camera does all of this inversion. And while that's happening, he is also haunted by the memory of Benjamina, who is the one thing that he can't find. So he has all these dreams of her knitting this. This is sort of very abstract, by the way, as what you can tell. She has dreams of her knitting this long woolen garment that has like a strand that's caught in the earth that leads somewhere caught in the ground, and he never can really quite place where it is. Benjamina's mother, Flora, has this infatuation with stay with me. Has this infatuation with Arthur, probably, and she sort of mothers him. She's like, "You're very skinny, you don't look after yourself, come have some biscuits, I want to fill you up." And that's probably because he is very much a connection to Benjamina for him. Also living with Flora in this big rundown house that's leaking is Fiona, who is a failed singing student who is re-entwined into Arthur's life. So this film I found to be, it's decisively opaque, intentionally so. Like there's lots of layered dialogue, but there's very little direct exposition within it. I do a lot of blank filling myself, and I'm spending a lot of time sort of deducing who's who and why it's this way for a lot of the time. I found it very hard to define. There's a very strong sense of sadness and melancholy running through it, and Arthur is a character. He's really difficult and he's unlikable, and he doesn't really want to be understood or easily read. I really got the sense that the direction of the film is not sort of wanting you to immediately like him or jump into who this person is, and you really feel like you're held at a distance. And I'll be honest, I think it took me about an hour and 15 minutes for me to really get into the rhythm of this film, and for me to really sit there and say, okay, this is what we're doing here. It takes its time. It's not here for the audience. It has a really present film stock. So you've got like the rounded corners when you sort of see the sort of details of the fraying of the negative scan, which is quite interesting, and it switches aspect ratios a lot, and so that's also quite confusing. And so, I'd be lying if I was saying I didn't lose patience with the film a little bit. Like, it took me a while to get into it. It's very unrushed and it's unpredictable, but within that, it's very evocative. It's very thought-provoking. That Josh O'Connor performance is really, really good. He's not a good person. He's not an interesting person, but seeing him navigate all of these spaces and interacting with these people is very compelling. And he does a really interesting thing with his performance that's so different to what I've just seen him do, hence the comparison to like On the Come Up as a really top actor. And you want to see how he's going to react in all of these different situations. So on one hand, a little bit frustrating. I got a little bit impatient with it, but it was kind of like, I liken it to, I've just stayed in a really great hotel with terrible customer service. Like, it's all brilliant and the ideas are brilliant, but I'm not welcome, I'm not warmed into it. I think it's purposefully and intentionally keeping the audience at a distance for me. And so I'm a little bit like interesting, juicy, frustrating.
But when you say like, that's an interesting concept about, it's not here for the audience, but that's one of my biggest things I find annoying about a film. Is that I'm not saying a film needs to pander to its audience. I'm not saying a film needs to spoon feed its audience, but it is ultimately a medium for people to watch. Yeah. You want people to watch this. It should be a conversation. That's like saying, I want to tell you about something. I don't care. I'm going to tell it my way. I don't care what you're listening. I'm sorry. I know it sounds kind of it's the capitalist, part of market-driven part of cinema being
customer's always right.
The customer's always right. But I'm like, well,
it feels distinctly obtuse and unclear because I've mentioned this whole like magical realism and an ability which is underexplored but relevant. There's almost like my favorite part of it was this sort of like heist sequence that happens in the middle on this boat, and if you've seen it, so like there I was really gripping onto it, and the more it went on, the more I sort of started to let go of it a bit more. But leaving the cinema, I had a lot to think about, and I think the final moment's really strong, but hard to define, hard to explain. Interesting work from Josh O'Connor. And I'll be interested to hear if other people have thought what they thought of it.
So one for like Josh O'Connor completists, if they want to get a full rounded
Yeah.
picture of this guy's.
Yeah,
And it's
totally.
directed by Alice
Rohrwacher, who what else has she done? I've not
She
seen
did
any
Happy
of
as
her other films.
Lazaro, I think. Happy as Lazaro, which again I think was another critically acclaimed but
Happy as
obscure
Lazaro,
film.
The Wonders from 2014, Heavenly Body, The Pupils, Futura. Beautiful to look at. Like the film stock is very present and it's there.
I would rather have
Naughty.
a crappy hotel with great service.
See, there you go. Yeah,
I think. It's
don't know
almost
how- I
like
don't know
a
how long my
psychological
metaphor
profiling
extends.
test.
yeah.
Well, if
And
you,
also, sorry, and there's another element of that sort of obtuseness of it, which shouldn't be the case, but it's all in Italian language, and you've got very layered dialogue, which, from my perspective as an English speaker, maybe that holds me further away from my characters because there is always something lost within that, and you're filling in details as you're reading, and not quite. I feel like you've walked in on a scene halfway through.
yes.
And there's a lot of implied depth in what Josh O'Connor's doing, and I'm trying to play catch up, and I'm probably watching the film the wrong way. As I said, it took me an hour and 15 to be like, I get what you're doing, I like this bit, kind of lost again.
Vikram writes in about La Chimera and says, "Hi James and George, Vic here, second year film student, first time emailing in.
Nice.
Discovered this podcast on the 1st of January 2024, New
Okay.
Year's Day, after a friend declared this the best film podcast on the internet.
Thanks,
Thank you
friend.
so much. Thank you, friend.
I like this like a New Year's resolution podcast.
And this year, I will listen to Pulp Kitchen.
Dear Diary.
I've never looked back. Love your stuff. The impression of Christopher Nolan directing Shallow Hal 2 had me in stitches last week.
nice.
Felt like Nolan was in the room. Very funny.
Lovely.
Are you going to watch review La Chimera? Yes, we are. I went to see it over the weekend and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. Josh O'Connor is proving to be an absolute force of an actor. I loved him in Challengers. This film had me completely lost in its realistic, magical fantasy. It might be my favourite film of the year so far, despite it being hard to recommend. The film is not approachable and not interested in providing context and clarity to its audience. It has profoundly sad undertones and doesn't try to scream sadness to get you to understand it. For that reason, it really worked and left me quite emotional when the credits rolled. Would love to hear your thoughts. Keep up the amazing work.
I think that's
from Ifun, another Baby Ranger reference. Vic.
I think that whole idea, you don't really recommend it, but if you do like that whole idea of there's a real great underlying sadness in there, and it's never like, hey, this is sad, by the way.
Yeah.
It totally lets you do all that homework yourself, which I think I do also admire it for that.
It sounds experiential. It sounds like an almost experience-based, kind of subconscious, abstract kind of driven thing. You're not going to you have to turn the logic part of your brain off and just experience it and let the feeling derive from that.
But there's so much layered dialogue, actually, it almost wants you to be listening to it, but it's almost it's mixed. I'm kind of middling on it. It's sticky, it's interesting. It's not a see it and forget it type film. It does kind of stick with you, and I would say I'd really understand it on a second viewing, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and when it's so obtuse, I really think you knock half an hour off of that. I could have probably been with you for longer.
I'm not going to lie.
I lost patience.
You've
with
given me a hard sell. A 2 hour 15 obscure foreign language film. It is. You're making it sound like the quintessential. Everyman film, your quintessential art house film, which is a red wine and roll neck movie, which is 2 hours, 2 hours too long. Anyway, okay, well, if you've seen La Chimera, please email in your thoughts, just like Vikram did, to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Did you forget our email address for a second there?
No, I just paused for dramatic effect. When I used to do acting when I was a kid, the drama teacher said, if you ever forget your lines, don't panic, just own the moment, pause and look over, and that way you've not forgotten your lines, you've taken a dramatic pause.
And also, if there's a drinks trolley on set, go and fix yourself a whiskey. Pour it very slowly.
That's a good moment.
Ice, stir
or
it.
if you're wearing glasses, go. And I think, take the glasses off, clean them while you think of your line.
Whereas in your mind, you're screaming.
Yes, but that is sometimes just 5-10 seconds is long enough to pick it back up. Anyway, thank you, James. That was La Chimera.
Chimera.
So, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which, as I was checking the trades this morning, has made a decent amount of money. So there's still an appetite for the Apes movies. And I thought, it's been a while since we've had a Planet of the Apes movie. Let's reintroduce ourselves to the world of the Planet of the Apes. So originally, of course, Planet of the Apes was a novel from 1963, a French novel with a French title, which I'm not going to remember now because I don't parler the French. But first Planet of the Apes movie was released in 1968. It was a massive hit.
Yeah.
And of course, as everyone knows, in the original movie, Charlton Heston is an astronaut, gets lost in space, lands on a planet We don't know where, but that's the whole point of the first one. And a planet full of apes that are intelligent and sentient and clever like humans, and they oversee the planet. And then, of course, there's conflict, and it ends, of course. I mean, this isn't a spoiler because the whole recent franchise is based on the knowledge that, oh my God, it was Earth all along. And there's a famous last shot of the Statue of Liberty sticking out of the sand. And Charlton Heston has actually, in fact, traveled into the future and to a future planet of the apes. You then get 4 sequels to that movie. You get 5 Planet of the Apes movies in as many years. Get this right. So you get Planet of the Apes in 1968. You then get Beneath the Planet of the Apes in 1970. Escape from the Planet of the Apes 1971. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes 1972. And Battle for the Planet of the Apes in 1973. That's a lot. That's a big churn.
Franchise.
That should be over 15 years.
That's before we did franchises like we do now.
That they really got them out there. That's all made
They had their own Ape CU.
And I think I'm always quite interested in the Planet of the Apes series because, first of all, that came out, that's pre-Star Wars. It's kind of in the kind of late 60s science fiction boom where science fiction was as much about ideas as it was about spectacle. And what I've always liked about the Planet of the Apes series, I've never seen any of the original ones. My entire knowledge is the Tim Burton one. Remade by Tim Burton then in 2001. And then... And then
I think we were on Planet of Apes.
Which was very divisive and I think kind of critically panned. And then rebooted 10 years later with Rise of the Planet of the Apes in 2011 with James Franco, John Lithgow, starting the first one. Then you had Dawn of the Planet of the Apes in 2014. This is an Andy Serkis ape-led, Caesar-led story, which concluded with War of the Planet of the Apes in 2017. So... what I've always loved about the Planet of the Apes series is that balance between ideas and action, and that, particularly with the modern films, you've got great sort of spectacle and great motion capture of characters and great scenes of action of apes on horseback, apes climbing things, great stuff. But really, what underneath it all, it's political allegories about class and racism and control and colonialism, post-colonialism, religious allegory, and it's really... When you think about it, it's quite a silly premise. It's quite a lot for an audience to swallow to see an ape on a horseback, talking about science. It sounds quite silly, but what I've always liked is they've always been able to overcome that with great action, great ideas. By the way, do you know the difference between an ape and a monkey?
No.
I thought about this going in, and I asked my friend, and he told me that, first of all, apes don't usually have a tail.
Oh, yeah.
Well, apes actually split into 2 categories. There's the lesser apes and there's the greater apes. The lesser apes are the ones like gibbons, but greater apes, which we think of as gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos,
big ones,
don't have tails and don't usually have fur on their faces.
Right. Okay,
and they're ripped as well.
Oh, my God. Have you seen the shaved, is it not orangutan? I think it's like a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Lean muscle mass.
Yeah. Scary, frankly.
They're really aggressive as well. They'll bite your dick off.
James.
They do. There's like stories. They'll
really?
They'll get jealous.
I've heard that they are a species that tease and they toy and they would rip your arms off just to play with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've had this quite unique science fiction IP that's had many iterations, and I think broadly speaking, the trilogy that we just had in the 2010s was successful. Some of this was better than others, but the Andy Serkis led movies, we liked those.
They really did well. The having CG animals in a live action film that felt like they had weight and presence and real textures. And you didn't get a sense that it was furry and soft, especially in Dawn.
And I will say that I think that's a slight thing about this movie, which is the balance between the amount of ape action and human action we get is the ratio is off, and I think that affects the film. But we'll get on to that.
I was just purely, I've not seen this new one, just purely from the trailers, I thought this looked like it existed much more in a digital realm than it did in a real one.
Yeah, I think that's accurate to say that.
And that puts me off more. It starts to look like Lion King 2019 more and more.
Okay, so Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, though, picks up at the prologue picks up where War of the Planet of the Apes finished, which is, spoiler alert if you're not up to date with that, but War for the Planet of the Apes concluded with Caesar dying, and we see at the beginning of this film his funeral, he's put on a funeral pyre, and apes, they sort of raise their hands up, and it's the death of Caesar. We then cut forward, and it says many generations later. It's never specified, but it could be at least 100 years later, maybe 200 years, and Earth is completely overgrown, and skyscrapers, barely recognizable as skyscrapers, are overgrown with greenery and vegetation. The planet is changing. And in this world, humans are basically extinct or borderline extinct. And there's talk, they say, oh, they used to roam around in packs, these humans, but now you barely see them. And in fact, the clan that we follow, led by one chimpanzee called Noah, they don't even know really what humans are. They call them echoes of a past world. You follow Noah, this chimpanzee, and his sort of love interest and best friend and mother and father in a very sort of
different people. I thought it was one person.
No. Oh yeah, no. Give the apes some respect.
Yeah.
They live in this very sort of functional clan that is all dependent on. They're called Eagle Clan because they're very good at rearing birds and taking eagle eggs and rearing them, and that's all part of their society. What happens is there is a conflict where they encounter a different clan of apes who are violent, masked, weaponized, have like tasered spears, and they operate under the name of Caesar. They say, this is for Caesar, we're doing this for Caesar, take these people back to Proxima. So they enslave the clan and take them away, except for Noah, who manages to get away. Right. So he is following their trail, trying to find what happened to his clan in a sort of narrative bend not too dissimilar from War for the Planet of the Apes, which is clan gets attacked. They need to then pursue and follow the bad guys to their home and then inveigle their way in somehow to the sort of prison-like structure.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and where the clan are taken to is the titular Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, overseen by Kevin Durand playing Proximus Caesar, this sort of slightly older chimpanzee, this ape who has command over all these different.
Also, the name being like a proxy Caesar is quite fitting.
Proximus Caesar does that, and he's governing this kingdom, and he's very keen to get into something that's in this mountain, which is by the sea. He's like, I want to get into this, which looks from the outside like, I don't know, like it could be a missile silo, it could be a place to keep, I don't know what the humans would have needed it for, but it's just behind massive iron doors, and he's keen to get inside there. I was nervous about going into this because I liked the original, not the original, I liked the rebooted trilogy.
Yeah.
And I was aware that they were doing this, and I was quite cynically thinking, I think this whiffs a little bit of the executives at the studio saying, we have this franchise that is now, we're not doing anything with, we don't have any more ideas, why don't we continue it and move it along? But it doesn't look like they had a very clear idea, and I'm afraid to say that is kind of the case. This is, for me, was a huge disappointment. So I saw this at a multimedia screening, and I caught up with a couple of other people we know, Henry Calvert, etc., and they kind of shared the same things as me. So big disappointment. The first thing is fatal combination of being too long, too slow, and dull. Okay, You can have a long movie, that's fine. You can have a slow movie, even, that's fine. But if you have a dull, slow, and long movie, terrible. Okay, it's 2 hours.
And when you're long, you open yourself up to being more likely being slow.
Exactly. If you're going to be dull, at least be dull and quick. But no, this is 2 hours 25, and let's start with the script. I think the script underserves what this film could have been. I think this film's got really good ingredients. Invoking this idea of kind of being decades, if not centuries, after Caesar. If you're being sympathetic, you're thinking this is kind of drawing on a parallel with what happened after Christ. You have a Christ-like figure, and you have the followers of Christ, and you have the kind of people who take Christ's name in a different way, and you have these sort of factionalism occurring between the memory and who's actually honouring the message of what Christ did, and like kind of drawing on that a little bit, but I think not engaging it in an interesting way. There's a part of it where Noah meets this orangutan who basically does a previously on Planet of the Apes thing and kind of gives him the kind of the story of Caesar, and like you're just telling me it's not a very interesting, compelling way of doing that. I think one of the other problems is that it's heavy on the ape action. So obviously the Andy Serkis ones were ape led, but you got to remember this is one where like humans don't exist. So all of the actions is ape. You got apes as the good guys, apes as the bad guys, apes as the supporting characters, apes everywhere. And I think that's a real problem, is because as great as the motion capture still is, and I do look at it sometimes, I think that's fantastic. I'm able to get full range of emotions from a motion capture suit. It's not the same as looking at a human face, and I missed some human action being thrown in there. I mean, there is a human character which I'll get to, but I missed sometimes seeing some scenes of humans talking. To break it up, which is a real shame.
Probably this like sort of screen door effect veil of the CG working technically from afar, but actually consistently over the course of over 2 hours, it takes something away. It's like a negative 15%.
It is, because over a sustained period, your brain ultimately is going, I do know that this isn't actually a chimpanzee.
The backgrounds and locations which you know don't exist.
Yes.
After a while, you go.
And that's another problem as well, is that they try and bring in all these supporting characters, which are all chimpanzees. And again, I love how accurate and good the motion capture is. They're all chimpanzees. They all look the same, okay? So when this person's like reunited with another person, I'm like, which chimpanzee is that? They all look like chimpanzees to me. I'm not being racist to chimpanzees, but I'm like, you're really kind of misemphasizing it in the wrong direction. I don't need to keep being introduced to his sort of love interest over here, his girlfriend, his mother. They're all chimpanzees.
And story-wise, the opposite argument of that is that like you can't give each ape a distinctive scar or like feature or piece of clothing, so they all are like visually like recognizable, because that also doesn't make sense and is a little bit forced.
So part of me was like, stop giving me all these chimpanzees to talk to, because I don't know the difference between any of them. Anyway, that's a real shame thing. I think that the biggest problem for me, another thing about the kingdom I mentioned, where you have Proximus and you get there. First of all, Proximus is not in it as much as a character, as the main villain who's on the poster kind of snarling. They don't get to the kingdom, I want to maybe say, hour and a half into the movie. This film is called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's 2 hours 20. They don't get to the kingdom until maybe an hour and a half in, and which is a big problem for me, because it's like I said with the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire thing, which is like, if you're gonna call your movie Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, get to the kingdom in the by the end of the first act, because we all know where this is going. So when you have this really long first act and second act, and we're like, I know where we're going to the kingdom where the king is, who's on the poster. Stop dilly-dallying and wasting time. Yes, it's nice to walk past renditions of skyscrapers and airports that are overgrown, but like, the movie's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And Ghostbusters, it was like, it's called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Why are you saving the Frozen Empire for the last 20 minutes? Please. Anyway, that's a big problem with me. My biggest problem, though, unfortunately, is the human character. So having said all that stuff about it's full of apes, there is one human character in this called Nova, who's played by an actor from The Witcher.
She plays Ciri in The Witcher.
Yes, and that actor is called Freya Allen. The problem is with the human character, and it really was my biggest issue with that, is that it is... I hate to focus on one sort of thing, but it's poorly written, poorly acted, and poorly cast. So poorly written, I've already talked about how the script kind of underserves all of its ideas, and it really underserves its characters. So you have this human character who's not given a lot to do and is quite restrictive. Unfortunately, in that respect, quite wooden. I'm so sorry to say this, but it is really poorly acted. I mean, I've sat in church pews with more give in them, okay? It was really, really unbending, kind of stiff performance. And poorly cast as well, because you have an actor, Freya Allen, who I think it just does look out of place for me. I think it's weird to sort of criticize the look of someone, but Freya Allen looks like an actor. This is meant to be a character who's grown up in the wild of this post-human world, okay? Where humans no longer have the ability to speak. Okay, that's a crucial plot detail I'd forgotten from War of the Planet of the Apes. That they themselves, humans have lost the ability to speak, apes have gained it. And you have this person who's living feral, basically a feral human, and in walks someone with perfect bone structure, great skin, and great teeth, who looks like an actor in a movie. And it's really strange, because I know you could say that about anything, but by contrast, when I mentioned Fallout, it's like, yes, Ella Purnell looks like an actor and has, wonderful eyes, but that makes sense for her character because she's grown up in a safe environment. When this character comes in who's meant to be feral, and you're like, this is a feral human. I'm like, no, it's not. That's a supermodel who's walked into a studio lot in LA to film this, and
a bit of dust and grime on the face, and they go, there you go, you're feral.
And I'm like, I'm sorry, there's nothing about you that looks. You've never chewed on a twig. You've never eaten a bug off of a rock. Unfortunately, every single scene that they were in, I find completely unconvincing. Just did not work at all. So it was a stiff, poorly written, wooden, and completely just misconceived presence in this film. Sorry to really focus on it, but it is actually quite important to the film. You about to say something?
No, you can.
No, that's it. So, and then in terms of the direction the film heads in, it ends up kind of leaning towards something that if you know this franchise is not it's kind of an inevitable direction they were going to go in. But the more they started to head towards it, I thought, I don't mind you going to that direction. I don't mind you engaging with that thing which is inevitable with this franchise that you were going to go to. I just wish you were doing it in a better way, in a better film. And then
to set up sequels, right?
Well, yes. And then when they do decide to go down that route and go with that, they do it, and then they really rush the last 5 minutes to sort of explain what that is.
Which in a long film is really annoying.
Yeah, and then they sort of hinted it in a really confusing way that I kind of left thinking, okay, so it's sort of the thing I thought you were going to deliver, but it's not even the thing you're going to deliver, but you're clearly still hoping to spin a sequel off of this, but I'm completely lost about where this sits within everything. It's really disappointing. And I came out and I spoke to Henry Calvert about it, and we were trying to work out, friend of the show, if this is worse than the Tim Burton one. Because the Tim Burton one also has some wooden acting in it and some sort of pretty... This is back when they still did it with the prosthetics. Some dodgy stuff. But the thing is about the Tim Burton one is it has a fairly good action scene, I think, towards the end. It has a really good... It has a really good nastiness with it. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Or something.
Yeah, so Tim Roth plays the villain in it, and there's a. I remember there being like a pretty nasty bit where they discover the wreckage of the spaceship that Mark Wahlberg came in, and Tim Roth kills his own bodyguards to hide the secret, so he can control the information.
I remember,
That's a really like nasty moment. There's nothing with as much teeth or with as much edge in this. It is waffle. That's what it is. Yeah. It is waffle. They didn't know what to say with it. They made the movie anyway. Really, really disappointing. And there's lots of other minor things you could get caught up on about, like the way that physics work in this movie and the way that water works. But it's a shame for a franchise that I want to work. I like the idea that we can live in a world where people engage with the Planet of the Apes as a franchise. People like that, apes can talk about and can deliver political allegories.
You hold a nice mirror up to the orange society and they recreate their own.
Yeah, actually humans.
Lots of room to play there.
Really, really disappointing. Really bad human character. Really dull script. Give me something else, please.
I had similar concerns ahead of Apes, and I was away when the screening came through, and I was like, it's okay, because I'll find out everything I need to know from other people seeing it and you seeing it, and it's just like unfortunately confirming a lot of my suspicions. Like the whole idea of like twisting the words of Jesus/Caesar. Yeah. It's like sound familiar? Like, yes. And that is an interesting idea if properly explored.
Which is not, yes.
Which is a shame that it's not. It does for me when they go, it's a new Apes film. I'm like, okay. And it's 300 years in the future. And my reaction is just, sure, like I'm not keeping track. I'm not concerned for the next part of it. And regardless of the sort of new Rise, Dawn, War trilogy, I always felt like the next films were sometimes good but never necessary. It was a trilogy that always seemed to be existing only if the last one was received well and made money.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
For me, like my commitment into really investing into a series when I feel like that's the grounds for sequel caps me at a certain level.
I think that it's a shame that I've forgotten my point.
That is a shame.
No, it's
it's a shame when.
That was it. I remember my point now. So it's that. So this is definitely, it doesn't deliver much action. It tries to lean into the ideas, which is fine, okay, but like I said, doesn't engage with it very well. Yeah. It did actually therefore feel like one of the later 1970s sequels. I felt like I was watching a sort of vague
film 4.
Synonym of the Planet of the Apes that's sort of coming in, sort of gauging with ideas, but isn't actually as spiky and interesting as the original.
Yeah, and you want Dawn has really great tension between the two factions and moments of real drama, and you care for these characters.
I did come away and I was like, why couldn't they have done... I mean, some people, by the way, coming out of the cinema in front of us, they were seething. Really? Oh, they were really annoyed of it. I mean, I was just disappointed. I don't think they set out to make a bad film, but I think there's so many more interesting directions they could have gone with this. Like, you could have followed up with the immediate death of Caesar with the factions starting to split. Like, I wanted to know why... in the world that we have with this film, there are these different apes, and why some apes have no memory of Caesar, or don't know what the myth of Caesar is.
Right where it left off.
Yeah, kind of, and like the sort of faction split between those who want to be loyal to the idea of Caesar and then. But I come not to mourn Caesar. I come to bury him.
Caesar has fallen. The empire's fallen. Like
the fall of the Planet of the Apes. That would have been good. Yeah, that would have been like Descent of the Planet of the Apes. But no, anyway. So I don't know. And now, but the problem is now I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care now.
Really, it's so damaging to their own little brand. Like to make a film that's just sort of a half-assed. I'm not saying it's half-assed, but just sort of slightly sleepy.
Also, sorry, this is the other problem. If you have a movie again which is centered on ape characters, why can't you have the apes talking cogently and coherently like they would do after 300 years? Why does every sentence have to be breathy? That's why the movie's 2 hours 20 long, because every sentence is over there. Yes. Yeah. I sound like Al Pacino. Could you be an ape?
Can you imagine
Kingdom of
him as an orangutan just telling stories?
She's got a bonobo over there. I'm an orangutan. Planet of the Apes.
You can't allow it.
But do you know what I mean? Do you know how annoying it is to listen to like dialogue be delivered
if you
like
counteract it with 50% of human scenes, it's sort of
exactly.
At least it,
Or why can't the chimpanzees?
You think maybe after 300 years they'd have got how fast is evolution? You know, like could they have improved their English over?
I mean, they learned to speak pretty quickly when the virus happened, so maybe they could at least develop literature or their own sort of symbols.
Are there any books left over? You know,
there are books featuring this, but they're like these symbols. They have meaning. It's Al Pacino, isn't it?
It's for Al Pacino.
This whole kingdom's out of order. Hoo-wah. Anyway, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I've said enough. Disappointing. Let us know your thoughts if you've seen it.
George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, if you wanted to send in your thoughts, your questions, your concerns.
Your mumblings, your grumblings, your musings, your bruisings, your news, your whatever you may choose. It's the news with the emails. Shall we read them?
To hello at pocketchinpodcast.com.
For pulling me out of
for a
that.
natural pause. You just kept going. Isaac writes into the show and says, "Hi guys, Isaac again from Manchester. Loving it. I emailed you last week about how I emailed you last week about how you deal with annoying people in the cinema. I absolutely loved your response and the absolute tangent you went on. Yeah, it was like 10 minutes. After hearing your review of Civil War, I went to watch it and wasn't disappointed. I feel going into it knowing that it's not a war film really did help. And with that knowing, I felt on the edge of my seat the whole time. However, just like you guys, I had some rather distracting people in my cinema. I had a few walk out, clearly not listening to Pulp Kitchen and expecting a war film. I think the audience not being with the film is a thing.
I also think I'm interested how Civil War has kind of it continues to sort of, people are arriving at Civil War and having their own thoughts and keep sharing it back. It's sort of slowly percolating outwards.
Yeah, there's the watch the marketing and was disappointed. There's the didn't watch the marketing and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
There's the watch the marketing was disappointed, listened to reviews was disappointed but went in and it's actually I'm now prepared for that, it's okay. Blah, blah, expecting a war film, but I was pushed to my limit. Two people in my row came in 15 minutes late. After this, they proceeded to leave and come back 4 times for different reasons, walking in front of me to get out. Very annoying. And one time, they came back to the wrong row and then proceeded to climb over the seats to sit down. The last time they left...
Animals.
Feral. The last time I had to say something, so I left forward and sternly said, quote, "Please sit the down," and they had the audacity to say, "It's okay, we're leaving now anyway, the film's shit." In utter disbelief, why even go to the cinema anyway? Sorry for the long email, but it was too funny to hear you mention it on episode 124. Gonna watch it again tonight anyway. Couldn't agree more with the Back to Black review. Keep it coming. That's just weird.
It's just disrespectful to the film as well as the audience, but it's like you have not even bothered to try and engage with that film. You come in late, you've left like 4 times, and...
Because they're looking for a war film that's going to immediately be engaging from action and some sort of compelling hook that film doesn't offer that. Sorry, Wild Hogs.
Yeah. Ugh.
Really annoying.
Despicable them. Next email is from Thursday, who
Great
says,
name.
"Hello again, great name, fantastic. I'm making my way through your episodes, essentially binging them, and I'm currently listening to episode 64. That's about a year ago, I want to say. However, I recently jumped forward to your recent episodes where you read out my first email, thank you. And I played the snippet for my parents and my boyfriend because I was so excited. So thank you as well for the name compliments. Thursday, you do. We have some good names from people. We don't read out your surnames, you know, to protect your privacy. But everyone's got great names on this. But Thursday, you do have a good one. My boyfriend and I have started doing a weekly movie night where we put 50 movies into a hat and pick one out each week to watch. I came up with this idea because I felt like I always wasn't motivated to pick and watch a movie, but my watch list was getting bigger and bigger. It has been lots of fun, and I would recommend doing it to anyone who has found it a bit tough to keep up with watching movies.
That's quite good because it takes away the choice.
The doom scroll.
There's an obligation of, well, we picked it out, therefore we'll watch it, and we chose the list ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like that factor of, well, it's on TV.
Our list of 50 has a random mix of films neither of us have seen, one of us has seen, or one that both of us have seen.
Okay.
Personally...
So just films then?
Yeah. Yeah, just any films. Recently, we watched The Godfather. Heard of it, James?
Yeah.
Which I had seen once before about 5 years ago, but my boyfriend had never seen. I thoroughly enjoyed it for a second time. I think even more than the first time, partly because I'd watched The Offer, which is a great series, and absolutely loved it. I also really enjoyed seeing my boyfriend watch this film for the first time. Have either of you rewatched The Godfather after watching The Offer? Thank you for keeping my company during the commute to and from work, and with all the great recommendations, my watch list is growing exponentially. Keep up the great work. All the best. Thursday, from Sydney in Australia. No, we haven't rewatched The Godfather since watching The Offer, but I really liked The Offer.
Go and check out George's review of The Offer.
Beginning of last year, I watched it. Thank you, Thursday.
This next one's from Anna, who writes in and says, "Hello, James and George. It's Hannah, but your email is Anna.
Oh.
I've been listening to your podcast for a while now. Always good and relatable content for me since I'm working with films on a daily basis as well, brackets, curating content for the movie streaming service. Ooh. Regarding Back to Black, totally agree with the poor reviews, but the film itself got me thinking. I have an issue with biographical films, which are usually overly aware of their own subject, taking the advantage of telling the story about the past from the perspective of someone in the future. Yes. Knowing the outcome, it's like you have to go back in time to tell the perspective of the future. Knowing the outcome this specific person will bring, the legendarity and cult status it will have, some directors just can't help but falling into the trope of over-dramatizing some aspects of the story.
Legend, I suppose.
Making the main character some kind of unappreciated genius, someone very much relatable to the modern audience. I get it, but at the same time, the outcast from the rest of the people she was surrounded by, that sometimes does not benefit the story and makes it very cliche. I guess that's the perks of the genre, but at the same time, slippery territory for the director being seduced by the opportunity to tell the story from the perspective of some kind of higher power. What are your thoughts on that? What biographical films do you like? If I had to choose, I would recommend Shirley with Elizabeth Moss, Favourite by Yorgos Lanthimos, and The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, and by Andrew Dominic. All of them are not exactly biopics, but definitely biographical stories with strong genre variations. Maybe that's why I like them. Anyway, thank you for your podcast and wishing you all the best. Hannah. George, you made a point when we reviewed Back to Black about biopics.
Musical, but it's not musical. It's musical biopics specifically because it's about the kind of cult that follows celebrities like that, and I just found them a pretty unengaging genre, except for, as I've mentioned before, unless it's about a very specific thing about that in that person's life, or that film is prepared to criticize its subject deeply, like Rocket Man did. But the love, that's why Love and Mercy, the Beach Boys one, is good because it has something specific. In terms of other biopics, I mean, like I see, like The Favourite, I really wouldn't call a biopic. It's such a stretch. It just takes some very broad historical facts and makes a fictional tale out of it. I think, but yes, blending genre in with it makes it more fun.
Or you just get really playful with the history and you take it as a work of fiction, but you use what people already know about a king or a politician, and you really like twist it.
I mean, that's why we don't.
Can't think of an example off the top of my head, but
the kind of films you used to get
Cleopatra.
30, 40 years ago of stuffy biopics that was just straightforward, like this person was born and then they became a good person and then they died. It's like, no, we've done. We've seen that. We've all sat in a classroom at some point in our lives and the teachers wheeled that out. Well, I'm showing my age there, wheeling it out on the
like Shakespeare in Love.
Desk. Yeah, Shakespeare in Love, that's fun.
No one would call that a biopic.
It's completely fictitious.
You tell the story of a person a person everyone knows, and you make a twist on it. You add artistic flair,
like a Doctor Who episode, and they would go back in time.
Yes, like Vincent Van Gogh, like that great one. Yes.
Anyway, thank you for that email. This next email is from John, who writes in and says, "Hi, George and James and George. John from Canada here. And I just wanted to weigh in with a few recommendations for the Siren, who wrote in about wanting films to help acclimatize his family for an upcoming move. Yes, we had a listener who was moving to Canada and wanted Canada films to give to their family.
Specific.
To get them used to the idea of moving. So first of all, a warm welcome to you, new Canadian. Excellent choice. I think you'll like it here.
Most Canadian welcome.
Hey, what's it all about?
Hey there.
Second of all, Canada is huge and incredibly diverse.
Not as big as it looks on the map because of the dilation of putting a sphere onto a square map.
It's still huge.
Inflated. It is big, but it's not as big. On the flat map,
splitting hairs,
Greenland and Africa are made to look like they're nearly the same size, when Greenland is like the size of Kenya.
Right.
So just the distortion of maps. You know about this?
Yeah, I know about the Northern Hemisphere being distorted to make it look bigger than it is.
Anything, southern and northern.
No, but also specifically the northern geography has always been inflated because of Eurocentrism and who drew the maps.
Guys, look at this map. Look at this map knowledge.
Cartographers. Did you not know this is a cartographers podcast as well? Anyway, second of all, Canada is huge and incredibly diverse. So depending on who you are and where you are going to be living, your experience could be widely varied. I live in southern Ontario, near Toronto, and I'm white and male and middle class. So here are a couple of things that give you that vibe, if that is the vibe that is relevant to you. I would recommend The F Word, which was titled What If in USA and UK. Yes, the Daniel Radcliffe movie.
Yeah, that's really good.
Directed by a Canadian but starring English actor Daniel
Adam
Radcliffe.
Driver.
Yes. Adam Driver and Mackenzie Davis are in that movie in supporting roles, but I feel like 10 years on, they are the most interesting actors in that movie. Yeah. Except I do love Daniel Radcliffe.
Why don't you just tell her how you feel?
Yeah, I've just had nachos. It's the greatest day of my life. And the other film he suggests is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is directed by Edgar Wright, an Englishman, but starring a Canadian, Michael Cera, and I think it's set in Canada.
I think it is too.
I think it might be
or a
set
very
in Montreal.
very frosty northern state in North America.
I think that both films are entertaining, and while I don't believe that any film could sum up all of what Canada is, the same could be said of my country, I'm sure. If you need to reassure your family that they are not moving to an entirely Arctic tundra, populated entirely by toothless hockey players, like the movie Goon, that's what we suggested with Sean William Scott, and your kids are of a reasonable age, those two should do it. Side note, for me, the Scott Pilgrim novels, graphic novels, really capture the feeling of being a young man in Toronto in the aughts. Do you mean like the noughties? In the aughts, I think that's what that means.
Yeah.
You're in the noughties.
The aughts.
If that is a road that you're interested in going down. Complete side note, George, I 100% co-sign your review of Civil War. Nice. I wish I had something new and clever to say, but you nailed it. Well said. That's how I feel about it too. Enjoying the show as always. Thank you so much for doing it. Best, John in Canada. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Robert writes into the show and says, "Hello, lads. I hope yous are all well. Second time sending in an email, and this time I wanted to ask you both to give me your thoughts on Tarantino. Now, I don't know if you are aware of this, but his 10th and final film, The Movie Critic, has been scrapped and got me thinking about this 10 film rule, and maybe this has put a certain amount of pressure on him to make this final project his best, or at least go out with a bang. Personally, I think his rule is a tad bit silly. I think the greats keep pushing on taking risks and swings, and just selfishly as well, of course, I'd want him to make more films. Robert, I love you, but you need some punctuation, my man. Punctuation, capital letters. Don't worry. If he wants to keep a legacy, then to me, he should have stopped at Once Upon a Time in Use capitals. He just stopped at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Are you like the other listener who doesn't use them because they find them sort of like intimidating?
He does use some capitals, but not for movie titles.
Is it? I look at. Is it just a ransom note written up different letters and different?
So he's
styles?
like, should have stopped at Once Upon a Time, and then I realised it's Once Upon a. Anyway, should have stopped at Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because that is a perfect film to go out with, such as a final film and an homage to cinema and just Hollywood in general. If he counts the Kill Bills as two separate movies, then he's made 10 technically. Well, he doesn't. He counts them as one.
Yeah,
which
I do too as well. Really.
What I'd like to ask is what you think about Tarantino and his filmography. Do you think he'll stop making movies? I heard he's got stuff planned for TV. For me, I'd say it's Pulp Fiction, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Inglourious Bastards as his top three. I'd edge Pulp Fiction as my favourite just because it absolutely slaps, but the other two aren't far behind. The only one I'm not that keen on was The Hateful Eight, but overall, I'd say he's got a pretty good filmography.
Did I write that email? What's the name of the
Rob.
Rob, you have the exact same take as I do.
Yeah.
I think Hateful Eight is at the bottom for me. Those three are at the top, with Pulp Fiction just edging it.
I think with JC says anyway, keep up the good work, love the pod, and always listen every week. Rob from Essex, cheers. Yeah, I feel like the great thing about Tarantino is, like, apart from a couple, you can really point at most of the three and say, I think those are the best, and you're not wrong, and you can have a really good discussion with a lot of people, and you can say, well, I point to this and I point to that. But I'm Kill Bill, Inglourious Bastards. I can't. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Kitchen. Oh, I don't know. Pulp Fiction. Sorry.
I mean, obviously, Pulp Kitchen.
I'm like split. I could take it or leave it.
You probably do a rewatch.
Yeah, definitely.
So I did.
I'd love to rewatch.
Last year, I rewatched like 3 Tarantino films, and we did a couple of bonuses on them because I went to see the show Tarantino live. It's about last summer. If you want to go check out some bonuses, and basically, in short, it was like Pulp Fiction still slaps, still fantastic. Inglourious Bastards still great, but I've seen that so many times. I need to retire it for 10 years, put it in a time capsule.
In terms of the whole, like, is it his last film, do 10 films? I kind of think it's bullshit. I think he's going to do one more film. He expect a long 10+ year break from him, and then I think he'll get bored and he'll come back.
Yeah, get bored. Yeah, totally.
The marketing of like he's back. It's so easy.
Also, Tarantino, I feel like saying to him, you're in such a like privileged position that like you can basically make any kind of film and people will go and see it. You'd have to have a real string of duds. I think you'd have to make maybe 4 terrible films for people to go, you know what, I'm not watching any more Tarantino.
Even still, I think.
Because he'd
how
still make
bad is a dud at the end of the day? Is it divisive or is it bad?
Because I think, like, I need to rewatch Death Proof. I've only seen it once, but I don't think Death Proof is as bad as I remember.
Yeah.
And I think I prefer it actually to Hateful Eight.
It would be interesting. I don't believe it. And even if he does do some TV stuff, it's like, fine, you're still getting more Tarantino. It'd be great.
And our final email is, well, we don't know because it's from n.r.surname and they haven't signed off their thing. So if you are nr@gmail.com, thank you for writing this in. Hey, I listen to your podcast weekly and I have a question regarding your statement about music biopics. So we're on that again, and you not being a fan of them. My question is, have you seen Walk the Line or the weird Al Yankovic films? What do you think of those? Many thanks. Can't wait to hear your response. Walk the Line is a huge blind spot of mine.
I've seen Walk the
Never
Line
seen it. Good.
when I was really young, and I don't think I appreciated it for what it was.
So
I think it was a good film.
We need to rewatch
Couldn't
that.
really definitively say.
The weird Al Yankovic
I heard
film.
it was solid, but I haven't seen it. Yeah, it was on my list for a while, but I just never got around to it because of life.
Have you seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story? The one with John C. Reilly, the Judd Apatow, John C. Reilly spoof film, which spoofs musical biopics, specifically Walk the Line and Ray, the Ray Charles one.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny, actually. I've heard that's like, there's still bits in that work.
John C. Reilly's such a little...
fantastic.
Interesting actor.
There's a scene in the middle of Walk Hard where he goes to India and he meets the Beatles in a spiritual tent, and it's hilarious. You got Paul Rudd as John Lennon, you got Jack Black as Paul McCartney.
I think
you got Justin Long as George Harrison and Jason Schwartzman as Ringo.
Nice,
really funny. It's also like Jack White turns up at one point as Elvis. It's nice. Some good moments, but the Beatles stuff in it's really funny. Those were the emails this week. Thank you very much
plenty more to go
for
through.
sending those in.
Keep sending them in. We will get to them eventually if we've missed you.
Yes.
Hello at popkitchenpodcast.com. George, should we end?
With a game. The sound, you know the rules. I'm just going to shut that door so we don't get any cross sound.
Those of you who've listened to Weeks Gone will know it's a new game.
It's a newish game.
It's a fun game. It's got really great feedback.
So, bear with me. This is my first time playing it from my side. DJing. James, you know the rules.
Yes.
You have
play along at home.
Please play along at home. Listen close. Are you listening closely?
Yeah. The line for double is the superior knot.
James, you know the rules.
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Is your sound up?
Here's the first sound. 3, 2, 1. I just want to say at this point, James, all of the films today, James, you have seen.
That was like a sort of guttural engine. Was it like an engine static? One more time, please.
It was the first sound I thought about putting in when I had an idea to do it from my side.
It's not a pod racer, is it?
No,
but you're... Is it a car?
No.
Is it an engine?
No.
Spaceship?
You're in the vicinity of genre.
Ooh, I don't know if I've got this. All right, go on
one more time. Ready?
Oh, it like goes up and down in pitch. Ooh, is it an old film?
Ish, yeah.
80s?
Yes.
It's not Terminator, is it?
Warmer.
Ooh.
If you know, you know.
I don't think I've got it.
That is the sound of the pulse rifle from James Cameron's Aliens.
Oh,
the Marines pulse rifle.
Know that,
so
yeah.
you hear the sound that, the aliens are coming out the walls and you hear the...
Yes. Well done. Yeah.
Very distinctive sound. Because it doesn't really sound like a gun, but there you go. Again, it's hard to prep these out of context to know the difficulty of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the Aliens pulse rifle sound. James, are you ready for your next sound?
Ready. Born ready.
Guess the movie from this sound.
Is it Star Wars?
No.
One more time, please.
Iconic.
There's a lot going on there.
I would say listen to the way the sound moves.
so much going on there. So I've got score, feels.
Yeah, you can hear the genre.
Is it John Williams?
It is John Williams. Well done. Iconic. Absolutely iconic.
One more time, please. It's not Indiana Jones, is it? Is it the scene when the boulder?
Yes,
yeah,
it is exactly that. Well done, well
Okay,
done. You hear
great.
it crash overhead.
Yes.
One more time, just so you can hear it now.
Yeah, it's the rocks. Yes. Whew.
There you
That's
go.
hot. That was actually quite good.
Yeah, well done, well done. So you're 1 for 1 at the moment.
Okay.
James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound. Next up. Apologies for the screaming. Again, you've seen all of these films.
Yes, yes. Okay, can I hear it one more time? It's an old film.
No.
No. There's like a cheerful tune that goes into screaming. It's like a sort of bar. Ooh. Again, please. Again, I need to hear it again.
This is a recent film.
Horror.
No. The screams are not horror.
Is it Barbarian?
No.
Is it comedy?
Yes, broadly speaking.
Ooh.
Okay, think of the words you've said. You said it's old, but I said it's a new film.
So it's an old-fashioned film. Well, it's set. It's a period film.
And it's very, very recent. And you have seen it.
Can I hear it again?
Oh, that'd be I think that's your fourth
I
listen.
know.
but
I know.
Okay.
You've had more than
Apologies again. Horrible to listen to,
Yeah,
I'm sure,
no.
as a podcast.
Sorry, I don't think I have it. Go on.
That is the scene from The Holdovers where he runs into the gym and he's being naughty and he jumps on the trampoline and then he goes off camera
nice.
and you
That's
hear him
hard.
break his
That's
arm.
quite
But I was like, that's a very memorable moment in a
Yes,
modern
yes, yes,
film.
yes.
Again, one more time. So you hear the
That's really
do you,
hard.
Do you hear do you hear the Christmas music in the background?
Kind
like
of,
sounded
yeah. To me, it sounded like a bar or a canteen. I don't know why. And the echo of the gym, and the break, the pause. Yeah, I totally picture it now. Yeah,
And
nice.
And just after that clip, he says, "Mr. Hannum." So I was like, "That's the Professor's clip."
nice.
Hard, I know.
It's hard.
James, well done. I'm putting you through it, but
Yeah,
are you
it's
ready
good.
for your next clip?
It's so fun to play.
Great. Are you enjoying yourself at home? I hope so.
You've never had more energy to a game, right? Okay, go on.
I love it. Are you ready for your next clip?
Yeah, ready for the next one.
Here we are, James. Can you guess the movie from this sound?
Yes, that is Mika Levy's score from Under the Skin.
No. No, it's not.
Oh, sorry, it's not. It's Zone of Interest.
Yes,
Oh, sorry, but it is
absolutely.
Mika Levy's
Yeah.
score.
Sorry, because
But it sounds the same.
That is Mika Levy's chilling score for the
I
end
feel like
credits.
it could be an Under the Skin, though.
I mean, because Mika Levy did Under the Skin.
Yeah, no,
So-
I know. That's what I'm
So
saying.
this
yeah.
is Mika Levy's score for the end credits of the Zone of Interest.
Horrifying
Absolutely
end
chilling.
credits to bring up in a game. Horrifying. It's the echoey, that screamy sound.
Chilling.
To
Chilling.
evoke the worst.
Yeah.
Chilling.
But I wanted to put that. I've deliberately not ended with that
Yes,
sound.
yeah.
Okay,
Great
James.
film. Check out our review of Zone of Interest.
Well done,
if you
James.
haven't already.
You're 2 for 2. Are you ready?
Well, no, I'm 2 for 4.
No, you've got 2 right, 2 wrong.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yes. Let's move on. James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yeah.
Guess the movie from the sound. It's just noise.
You're so chaotic.
But if you know, you know.
So what? Okay, I heard swords screaming.
I'll give it to you again.
Lots. Yep. Ooh, a big punch there. There's a big like. Pew. God, it's so vague.
I would say you're wanting to listen to the most consistent note that you hear, the most consistent sound in this clip is the key.
Okay, one more time. The scream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, swords. It's definitely swords.
You're getting the
Still kind
tone of it?
Yeah, the tone is sort of slightly fun and childish.
Yes, yes.
Is it a Spielberg film?
No.
One more time. I was thinking Hook. Is it a cartoon? Is it animated?
No, but tone, like silly, fun, a film you have seen definitely more than once. It's a specific, that's a gag. That's a joke. There's a joke happening with that sound.
Sort of Princess Bride or something?
No, but, you know, comedic. Released in your lifetime.
One more time with the sound.
Remember, you're seeing a joke happen with this moment.
Yeah. No, I don't have it. What is it?
That is the fight scene from Anchorman where Brick has the hand grenade. Is just going,
It's so hard though, because it could be anything.
It could be anything.
That's annoying because the swords really took me out of Anchorman.
But do you know what I mean? Like, that's a very distinctive joke in that
Yes.
sequence
Yeah,
of Brick
yeah,
just
yeah,
yelling
yeah.
with the hand
Very
grenade.
good.
Again, one more time, that was.
Yeah, very good. I thought it was someone falling because his voice decrescendos there.
Anyway.
Very good, very good.
Are you ready for your next sound?
Yeah, how many
next
more we got? Two.
We have two more.
Two more.
Penultimate sound. Guess the movie from the sound.
Oh, that sounded like the thing in Lost, which I know is not. We're not doing TV shows. Can I hear it again, please? It's not Dinosaur, is it?
No.
It's not Ghostbusters.
Nope.
Is it an animal making that sound? A creature, an alien, an organic being, a carbon-based life form.
Yeah, something that breathes oxygen, yes.
Is this an older film from the 70s, 80s?
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how the sound,
hear
yeah,
the quality.
totally, the grainness of the mic.
One more time?
Yeah, there's a screechy. Okay, go on. There's this sort of ethereal, ghosty wind. Is it the thing?
Yes.
Yes. Whoa.
Yes.
Yes. Got it.
Yes,
Got it.
well done. That is that's the first
the
time.
wind actually made me think of
the
the thing.
Antarctic wind.
Yes.
It's the first time the creature makes a noise because it's when it's caught outside.
Yes.
That clip, I'm just going to play you a little bit earlier on. I was going to play the alarm because the alarm is so distinctive, and I thought that's actually a bit me because it could be anything, but it has a really great 80s alarm, which is like...
I could do this for an hour. I could do this for a
it's
whole
brilliant.
hour.
No, I can't find the clip. It's too
Yeah.
short. But anyway, that was...
There's a lot of contrast in your clips and chaos, by
That's
the
what
way.
I thought. I thought, well...
From monsters to the Holocaust,
I
you've
basically-
just gone for it.
I just didn't want to have anything with any dialogue in to make it too easy.
Yeah,
But maybe
yeah.
that's too much. And now, James, are you ready for your final
no
clip?
dialogue so far. Yeah, okay, go on.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Oh, shit!
Is that Robin Williams?
Excuse the profanity there. And apologies for playing the first clip again. What did you say?
Was that Robin Williams' voice?
Yes, it was. One more time.
Wait, one more time.
Oh, shit!
It is Hook.
It's not Hook, but it is Robin Williams.
Not Mrs. Doubtfire.
It's Mrs. Doubtfire.
It's Mrs. Doubtfire,
So
yeah.
this is the point of Mrs.
Very
Doubtfire
playful sound
when he
from Mrs.
has
Doubtfire.
the, I believe the child inspector is over, and she's come to see the dad, but he's there dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, and it's the
he's-
cake.
No, not quite
No.
the cake. It's the same scene, but he's trying to get the hat on, the face mask on, but it falls out the window. So this is the scene where he
the
looks out the
falling.
window. He sees it on the tarmac, the
the
concrete,
car
and the
runs
truck
over
is
it.
coming, and he's going, no, no, and then the squishy noise you hear is the truck running over the mask, and his reaction. So here, that's what you hear now.
It's amazing how the sound really cues, like, just from that, that is the sound of a fall of something going down.
It's a Chris Columbus movie.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
classic
totally.
Chris Columbus sound.
Totally.
So I thought I'd end on a nice
shit! So it's like sort of Robin Williams.
Oh,
hey. Oh God, I killed the bastard. Love that. That's so much fun.
That is so much fun.
It's fun to
It's
play
worse
and create that game.
So I had a real mixture of comedy and darkness there.
Yeah.
for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That was great.
Thank you very
I loved
much.
it. I hope you enjoyed playing it at home, as always.
That was episode 128. of
Thank
Pulp
you, as
Kitchen.
always. As you know, we post new episodes of this podcast every single Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We do mean it. We really appreciate you spending time with us this week. We hope you all had a great week. Continue to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and like and subscribe. We share things on our social platforms that we don't often share on here. Film bites,
Fun
clips, events we go to, things we're doing. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a review, give us a 5 stars, give us a thumbs up, give us a recommendation.
Give us £1 million.
Send us a link to people. Send links to people saying, this is my favorite.
This is my mum.
Send our link to your friends and say, I love this podcast.
Send in your emails.
And send your emails.
Reviews.
And just,
you saw Chimera, let us know.
think of us.
I'm slightly twisted that the people who writing emails now are doing the sent from my phone from the baby reindeer thing.
Oh, yes.
But also people are still leaving the sent from my iPhone thing. But I don't know if that is
We'll never
baby
know.
reindeering or they just never deleted the sent from my iPhone thing.
Baby Ranger spoiler thoughts coming later this week in the bonus episode. Other than that, we'll see you next week on
you next
episode
week.
129. Bye-bye.
Bye.